It certainly did. And Scott Jennings, as we hear our speaking, we're getting ready for all of these executive orders that are going to happen, swearing in of the new senators and the switching of the balance of power, as Manu just referred to, and also, the formal swearing in of the people who are going to run the White House and communicate with the country, right? The press team, the chief of staff. All of this is happening right now. You have been a part of a transition like this in the White House, in these moments right now, when they come out of the parade, before they come out for those formal executive orders, and then the evening's events. What's happening right now?
Well, there is a pretty special moment for the White House staff. You actually put your hand up and you take an oath of office as well. You get sworn in, and it's a reminder to you about exactly why you're there, and that's to serve the public and to uphold the Constitution. So that's really a special time. Up on Capitol Hill in the Senate, of course, we are seeing a pretty momentous thing. A balance of power is changing from Republican to Democrat, although they haven't worked out a power-sharing agreement with. What's happening up on Capitol Hill is a pretty monumental item as it relates to Joe Biden's own agenda. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and it will change the equilibrium slightly in Washington, D.C., and what remains to be seen is how the two parties are going to work together to move the ball on certain issues. My advice to both parties would be find a way to work together on coronavirus vaccine distribution first, because that's the only way we're going to get the economy reopened and get kids back in schools and so on and so forth. That's not a partisan issue. That's an American issue, and everybody working on that deserves our support and loyalty.
What do you think it's actually going to mean, Scott? Because obviously you know Mitch McConnell well. Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden know each other well. And now Trump is gone, right? Left the station. Mitch McConnell's made it clear that he believes the former president of the United States was the one responsible for the riot, right? He said it directly. He said it bluntly. Does that translate into real working together and real unity immediately? How much of this is not just talk?
Well, I think there's a number of things here going on at the same time. I do think Mitch McConnell wants there to be unity among all the players and parties on defending the Constitution. I mean, that's what happened on January 6th. It was a direct assault on the Constitution, not on one party or the other, but it was a direct assault on the way we do it, which is we have elections and there are winners and there are losers. And so I think he wants to drive unity on that point. Number two, I've heard him say personally that he thinks there are areas where there's going to be agreement, and there can be bipartisan agreement as long as I think we all accept that most policy is going to be made between the 40-yard lines. But there are going to be areas of disagreement, and we'll set those aside for debate and probably debate during the next midterm election. But that shouldn't stop us from working together on the things that we know to be necessary. Coronavirus vaccination distribution, whatever the Congress can do, they have to do. Future relief. Infrastructure, I've heard, even though I think they're still far apart on how to pay for it. Everybody agrees we need roads, bridges, and highways.
Yep. If
Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell approach it from that perspective, everyone benefits because they could really get some things done over the next couple of years.
All right, let's listen. I ask you, how much goodwill does Joe Biden really have when the rubber meets the road in terms of what's necessary to really make things happen, which of course is legislation, not executive order?
Well, I think he has quite a bit of goodwill, actually. I mean, I've talked to Senator McConnell about their friendship, and, I've heard him say things like, I'm going to treat him a lot better than Chuck Schumer ever treated Donald Trump, and I think that's going to be true. It doesn't matter as much in the House because Democrats are in charge, and they have a simple majority there. But in the Senate, it does matter. They can do some things by simple majority, but most things you need 60 votes. And so I do think that long-standing friendship matters. Back on the executive orders, if I might, for a moment, Aaron, the ones that jump out at me are the Keystone Pipeline, which, for all the talk about rebuilding our alliances and our friendships around the world, that is a punch in the face to Canada and, by the way, a punch in the face to several unions that had endorsed that project. And the other ones are DACA and suspending the wall construction. I was remembering today that Donald Trump at one point had Democrats talked into $25 billion for the wall and a fix for the Dreamers, and he could not close the deal. And fast forward to today, Joe Biden gets to make these executive actions. Elections have consequences, and so does a failure to pass actual laws when you have the office. So that's what jumps out at me.
It's a really interesting point. I'm glad you raise it.
Yeah, I thought the appearance of the ex-presidents today and then their participation at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier was quite striking. Of course, I'm partial to President Bush because I worked for him, but I think having a bipartisan group of ex-presidents there, and then they made their video, which was pretty special as well. did send a very strong and powerful message. You know, in the past, some presidents have drawn on their predecessors to help them with things. Donald Trump did not really, I think, draw on former presidents the way he could have, and really in his campaign when he was elected in 2016, savaged presidents of both parties. I mean, he once accused George W. Bush of perpetrating 9/11, and he, of course, had many bad things to say about Barack Obama. So I think under a Biden administration, if he winds up drawing on the expertise of these former presidents and he winds up putting his arms around them and giving them things to do that helps unify the country, that would be a terrific thing. I think all these people have had something to offer, and they have some trust and capital with the American people, and that can help build unity in the country.
Chris, you want to... My question is, do you really believe that the enablers who are still there, Hawley, who just held up a pick for no good reason,
Cruz,
that they really want things to be any different than they were, or are they just dying for a chance to investigate Hunter Biden?
I think some of the Republicans who voted against the first nomination tonight are doing so for personal political ambition reasons. I mean, it's quite obvious what their game is. But I actually thought overall it was a pretty strong bipartisan vote. And I do believe Mitch McConnell, who, by the way, does have a genuine friendship with Joe Biden, when he says that there are going to be areas where they can work together. That doesn't mean Republicans are going to roll over for every Democratic idea, nor do I think it means Joe Biden's going to roll over for every idea that Mitch McConnell throws out there. But I do think it means you have two guys who know each other, who trust each other, and who know how to get something done. Joe Biden knows how, frankly, a bill becomes a law, which is not something Donald Trump ever really figured out after 4 years. And that matters because Joe Biden knows the dynamics of a Senate. He knows how things happen in Congress. He knows what's within the realm of the possible. And that could be, you know, that's an important ingredient. Also, do not underestimate the importance of predictability. With Trump as president, Republicans got a lot of things done, but there was always this unpredictability. Trump would say his position is X, then it would become Y. He would say he would sign this, and then he said he wouldn't sign it. He would say he wanted this, and then he would change it at the last minute. Unpredictability can derail a lot of legislation. If you look at the executive orders, today Biden did something on DACA, and he shut down the wall. Remember, Donald Trump once had Democrats talked into $25 billion for the wall and a deal that would have fixed the Dreamers issue, and he couldn't close the deal.
Right.
He winds up going it alone on executive orders himself, and now another president is undoing it because he couldn't pass a law and instead relied on executive action. Elections have consequences, and so does not understanding how a bill becomes a law. So I think, you know, as we look at this transition, we can look back and say, what went wrong in the Trump years and what could go right in the Biden years if people just understood basically how does a bill become a law? How do people work together?
Biden era.
I want to know what you think, Scott, of this, you know, mask mandate and kicking off a 100-day mask challenge after his predecessor consistently downplayed the importance, politicized it as well. Did you think that this is going in the right direction to do what Biden did?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think most Americans are okay with the mask mandate. The people who don't like it are still not going to like it because there's an executive order on it now. But if it helps control the coronavirus and gets us through this that much faster, then it's a good thing. Overall, I actually think the first 2 years of his administration will be almost entirely judged by how he handles the pandemic, vaccine distribution. It's not going fast enough. We've got reports of states, you know, throwing vaccine in the garbage because of the onerous regulations that have been put on them. That has to be fixed and totally changed. So if he can get the distribution thing fixed, sped up, more people vaccinated, people will go back to work, kids can go back to school. I mean, that'd be a heck of a lift, but would probably be what his first 2 years is entirely judged upon. So if I were him, doing executive orders, legislation, whatever, it would almost entirely be focused on coronavirus, and you saw that reflected in some of what he did today.